Well, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight at the Swartz Creek Performing Arts Center. My name is Ben Meinke. I'm the superintendent here in Swartz Creek, and it is an honor and a privilege to serve in this school district with great people. I would like to thank some of our people who made this possible, some of our people in the tech booth, Mr. Gillette for being willing to give up some time to help make this event possible with the technology, and Andrew and everybody else in the back booth. Thank you so much. I'd also like to acknowledge those of you that are board members in the audience today, our Board of Education members that are here tonight. I'd like to recognize them. I believe Carrie Germain is here, president of the board. She's over there. You can stand up and be acknowledged. I believe our secretary, Jack Sayer, is here as well. Here's Mr. Sayer. Alyssa Parks, I think, is in the audience. I saw her. Miss Jessica Lenave, our board treasurer. And Alicia Gardner, I think I saw. There she is right there. So thank you all for being here and participating as well, and it's great to be a part of the conversation. It was over 2 years now that we've been in the pandemic of COVID-19. And while hopefully we're seeing signs pointing to emerging out of the pandemic, one of the things that we did that was successful early on in the pandemic was holding online town hall meetings. And when we held our online town hall meetings, what we did is we essentially set up a Zoom stream, and we allowed community members and parents to come on and ask questions. It was an opportunity for us to essentially speak into some of the protocols that we were using and how we were engaging our students throughout a very difficult time in our society and in public education. Tonight was born out of that concept, but we thought, why don't we do something a little different, make it a little bit more in person, obviously, is one thing, but we also wanted to include students and staff members and give community members an opportunity to ask questions. So we hope that this will be a format that is both positive and gives you lots of information about many of the things that are going on in the school district, and certainly we won't be able to touch on all things, but we will do our best to address many of them. If you didn't get a chance at the beginning, there are agendas that are out in the lobby as you enter. And as we start the remarks today, I'm going to start by giving what we call the State of the School Address. And this is going to be a very high-level rundown of just many of the things that the school district is doing and involved in on a regular basis. And so I'm going to start by talking a little bit about COVID-19. COVID-19 has been a very divisive issue across our country, across society. And that has not necessarily been something that we've been able to escape in Swartz Creek either. But one of the things that we're very proud of that we did early on in the pandemic is we got our teams together, and our teachers and our administrators really circled together and said, how can we provide a quality education in the midst of school being canceled and being forced to go remote in certain situations. Everybody had different situations at home with their family's health and what they may have a capacity to expose themselves to other people versus not. And so we had a lot of different things that we were thinking about. And we said, what if we just ran 3 separate schools? What if we ran a completely online offering? What if we ran a face-to-face offering? And also, what if we ran a hybrid offering? I can tell you that we're the only school in Genesee County to do that, and we were probably one of the only schools in the state of Michigan to do that. And that didn't come without a lot of stress and burden to our staff. It was very difficult to pick up and make that happen. But I'm proud of our people for doing that, and it was just amazing to watch our staff really pull off what we thought to be fairly impossible. And for that, we were able to give parents a choice, and we gave parents and families choices for the type of modality that they wanted their child to be a part of. Obviously, as we entered into this school year, we had high hopes of emerging from the pandemic in the fall. And so the vast majority of our children came back to school. That was challenging because a lot of the flexibility that the state of Michigan offered schools in terms of how we count students and what we have to do for attendance, those rules were not as flexible as they were. So for example, a question that we get a lot of times is, well, why don't you just go remote, have a remote day and let the kids learn online? The state of Michigan does not allow for that to happen in a flexible sense anymore, and so we don't have the same tools at our disposal that we maybe had early on in the pandemic. One of the things that comes up a lot as well is, what do we do about masks? What do we do about vaccines? What do we do about all of those things that can be fairly controversial? One of the things that we've done as a district is we've followed the health department's guidelines throughout the entire pandemic. We work very closely with them. Our principals are working closely with the health department on a regular basis. I'm meeting with countywide superintendents and health department officials every week. And certainly we're even talking about that at the board table. Masks have become an issue. One of the things that the health department did in December is they removed the requirement for masks. Our school district, in light of looking at the science and the data that we had at the time, had made the decision that they would extend masking through February 17th, which happens to be this week, Thursday. And so on Thursday, unless the board chooses to take action, masks will become highly recommended. And they will discuss that at their leisure. I will say that vaccinations have also come up, and we get questions a lot about, will the school require students to get the COVID vaccine? And the answer is certainly not at this time. One of the things that the state of Michigan has is a mandatory vaccination list, and Swartz Creek has not entertained requiring those things of staff or students, but certainly we're supportive of parents for making those choices on their own in what's in the best interest of their own personal family health. So as we think about emerging from the pandemic, we have, masks and no masks and vaccines and all these things. We talk so much about these things that we sometimes lose sight of why we're really here. And so unfortunately, one of the major gaps that we found is that we need to really start looking at our literacy and our math and getting back to a lot of the academic success that we've enjoyed in the past. And that's going to take an extreme amount of effort to kind of close some of those learning gaps that have occurred over the past few years. So one of the things that I can say, and we're looking at this data, and there are concerning trends across the United States of America. Some experts estimate that there's a 10-year, almost a decade gap that we're going to see over the course of the next 10 years in learning loss that will be having to be made up in certain cases. Some students were not hit as hard by the pandemic, and some students actually thrived. So what you see is that there's not a 100% commonality between all students, but what we do know is that certainly learning suffered during the pandemic, and we were hit hard. So as we emerge from that, our teams are looking very closely. Our multi-tiered system of support team, our MTSS teams, which are kind of our instructional initiative teams, are looking very closely at how do we close some of those learning gaps and how do we really bring about making it so that our students can get back to grade level in all of those areas. I'm going to shift gears for a second and talk a little bit about our bond and construction projects. If you go anywhere in the district, you will not find a place that has not been touched by the bond that this community so graciously supported. Largely, those efforts have been around safety and security, STEM education, as well as air conditioning for our classrooms and our common spaces. Certainly, if you've had the opportunity in the past year to take in some of our events at the stadium, I believe that our stadium is the best stadium in Genesee County, and I can tell you that most superintendents, when they visit, concur. We're very blessed and fortunate to have that. What you are seeing built outside of, let's see where we're at right here, it's actually back over behind here, is probably one of the largest STEM facilities in a high school in the state of Michigan. And if you look at our middle school, you'll find the same is occurring there. And the excitement around what we started at our elementary schools in building science, technology, engineering, mathematics practices that our kids have the opportunities to experience, we're going to see that transition all the way through the 12th grade. Our teachers are working on how to create partnerships with Kettering University and how they can help students walk into fields in those technical areas at a much higher level than students that are going to just normal high school. And so in Swartz Creek, the investment in those facilities is going to be realized with an academic outcome as well. Proud to say that our bond projects have been on schedule as much as they could be. We did get paused for a good significant chunk of time in 2020, but we've been able to recover for a large part, and we are on track to complete all of our projects that we promised the community. And so we actually just received bids, and the board will take action potentially, if they vote for it. This particular parking lot is one of the worst parking lots I've ever seen. and probably most of you that have been in it agree. And so that's the largest site work project, and what we're going to be doing here is replacing this entire lot. It's going to be created safer where we have a parent drop-off loop. There's going to be some curbing. We're actually creating another exit and entrance out of the parking lot, as well as expanding parking lot in front of the Performing Arts Center here. So it's a very, very large and massive site work project that'll begin this summer. Also this summer, we'll be replacing our locker rooms and our athletic wing. If you've been to our high school gymnasium, you'll know that the bleachers need to be replaced, and they will be, as well as the stage being removed and many of the other updates in that area. The offices at the middle school and high school will be opening soon, and at the elementary schools, we've been very fortunate to see the offices as well as the maker spaces added to all of those buildings. At Morrish Elementary School this summer, we'll see a complete parking lot revision and repair to address many of the challenges that are existing for parent drop-off and pickup when those issues are extensive, and I'm sure we'll talk about those a little bit tonight. Speaking about the elementary schools, several years ago as we were heading into the pandemic, we had some concern about financing. The state of Michigan told us we should be expecting up to $1,000 a student cut. There were a lot of kind of gloom and doom scenarios coming out of Lansing. We looked at a lot of different ideas, and one of the things that we decided to do as a school district is to move to an early and upper elementary model. When we did that, we expanded the opportunity for teachers at those grade levels to work together and collaborate. One of the things that has been a little bit of a disappointment is the fact that we haven't been in that configuration during a quote-unquote normal year. We're hoping that in this next year we'll be able to expand our accelerated learning programs, our magnet programs, and also our targeted tutoring support. So while that's happening in the 4 large elementary schools, Gaines Elementary School remained a K-5 elementary school. As you know, the district's been talking about what is the future of Gaines Elementary School and how do we make a sound decision on that. And the board has been talking about what could possibly come as an outcome, everything from leaving it alone to closing it and everything in between. Could it be a community center? Could it be looked at as in a little bit different way, as possibly a magnet program for the district? And so all of those things are being discussed at the board table. And the board will actually have a meeting in early March to discuss it, not make a decision in early March, but to discuss Gaines Elementary School. And it will be exclusively a special board meeting for that purpose. We also are looking at our early childhood education. We have a very vibrant early childhood program with GSRP at our Little Dragons Learning Center, which is in the parking, kind of the building that's next to St. Mary's Catholic Church. And we also run a very vibrant latchkey program at our early elementary schools, and so that has been a success for us even in the pandemic. In our secondary schools, I'm going to turn it over to a couple of very special students in a second to talk a little bit about what is happening in those buildings, but I'll just highlight the fact that at the high school, we have experimented this year. We did a pilot because of a lot of the students missing credits through the pandemic in a 7-period school day. We've received very, very mixed results on that, some not so positive, some very positive. It's a pilot program, and so we're going to be sending surveys out very shortly to those students and families and getting input, as well as to the staff members and getting input on their experience in that. We also are expanding our construction trades and early college opportunities at our high school, which is something that we're very proud of, and students are able to earn their associate's degree in 1 year if they participate in our early college program, which has been fantastic. Shifting gears to community education, we're doing a lot with our cage. We had sat dormant for 2 years, and we kind of shuttered those programs, and the pickleball crowd was strong, and they were loud, and we made sure that we came back and provided pickleball to our community. And so pickleball is running. We also just opened up walking for our seniors, especially in the winter cold months. If you can't get out into the sidewalks and do that, the cage is a great place to go. We're starting to introduce more of those programs like swimming lessons and some of our other community ed programs that have had to kind of shutter during the pandemic, and we're starting to bring those back. The Performing Arts Center, this beautiful facility, is primarily utilized for our student performances, but we're hoping to be able to start to welcome back some community groups as well over the course of the next 4 to 6 months. Mary Crapo. This was a historic building in our community. It's a school building right in the heart of downtown. For those of you that may know, we spent a significant amount of time working with a group in Flint to revitalize the building and hopefully turn it into senior apartments. We thought that this would be kind of a great way to utilize the space. There are some concerns over what may come of Mary Crapo. I can tell you that the board is looking at that right now. We're having conversations on what would it look like if we made a green space there, and we had to unfortunately demolish the building, but we could create a community park and possibly a ball field in that space. There's other conversations going on about what would it look like if we re-engaged another group to potentially think about doing something with the building. But those things nonetheless are present. Mary Crapo is not a building that can be inhabited at this point. In terms of the fire marshals and all of the rules from the fire code and fire safety, the building is going to require significant investment if we were to inhabit the building. And so at this point, it really becomes what are the next steps for it, and inhabiting it is not one of those options. I want to talk for a second about one of our big initiatives in the district coming through the pandemic, and that's called trauma-informed care. One of the things that you may hear about are buzzwords like social emotional learning or working with trauma-informed students and trauma-informed care. And so one of the things we're looking at is how do we create equitable outcomes for every single child that has experienced trauma. And most people have experienced that having come through the pandemic. And even before the pandemic and even after the pandemic, those things exist. And so we're spending a lot of time really trying to understand, if you think about, some of you may have understood what the Maslow's hierarchy of needs are. And basically what it boils down to is, in order for somebody to learn about themselves or reading and math and all of these higher level thinking skills, they can't really do that if they don't feel safe, if they're not clothed, if they're hungry. So some of those pieces that are involved with trauma, our staff has been working with to try and figure out how do we help kids have some of those basic needs met so that we can ensure that they can learn the content that we need them to learn. What I will tell you is that in the past couple years, we've never seen such burnout of our staff. We're facing the largest workforce replacement challenge in nearly 100 years. You may have heard of the Great Resignation, and schools are not immune from that. We are seeing workplace shortages in every sector of society, and schools are having a very difficult time replacing their teachers or support staff. If you think about the University of Michigan and in Flint is a teacher ed program, and you think about Eastern Michigan University and Michigan State, these universities typically produce a large number of teachers. Those numbers have dropped by almost 50%, and some of the teacher ed programs are closing their doors altogether, which is making it harder and harder for us to find quality teachers to put in the classroom. Some of these things are things that happened in Lansing. Some of these things are just what happened in society in terms of how the public perception of teachers and in our society. And I can tell you that teaching is one of the greatest professions that one can endeavor to do, and we need to support our staff. They're under a lot of stress. Everything from how to manage COVID to the trauma the kids are under, and the students need our teachers and our support staff. And so everyone in the school is facing that, and so we're combating that in a variety of different ways. Some of the things that we do, obviously, in terms of trying to give them time, remove some of the red tape and the bureaucratic stuff that they have to work on. But even with those things, they're really minimal to some of the tasks that they have in front of them. So these are things that we're really working towards. How can we create staff wellness and deal with staff trauma? How can we create the workspaces that people want to be a part of? And those are all things that we're looking at as well. I will also let you know that the board is engaged for the first time in a long time in comprehensive strategic planning. The Swartz Creek Community Schools has not had a comprehensive strategic plan in a very, very long time. Certainly in the past decade, they have not had that. And so we are at a point now where we're really starting to say, how do we make these really informed and strategic decisions that are based on data? And so our board is in the midst of going through that, and we will be gathering more and more community input over the next couple months, with hopes that before this school year is out, we'll have some really neat opportunities to share the district's strategic plan with the community. I also want to talk a little bit about the Oxford school situation. When Oxford happened, many of the schools across the state of Michigan experienced threats and copycat threats and things like that. And naturally, our school district responded very, very well. Our teachers, our administrators, they jumped into action. I will tell you that we are very prepared. We have a very comprehensive threat assessment process called the CSTAG process. That is a research-based tool to identify when a threat is made. How do we identify whether the threat is a transient threat, whether it's a substantive threat, meaning is it a real threat or not? And we have to treat every threat as if it's real until we can determine that it's not. And so our threat process is very engaged. I also will tell you that our teachers and our students have all been trained in the ALICE protocol, which is the #1 training for active shooter training in the world. And we continue to drill on that. We continue to train. We've installed night locks in all of the classrooms at the high school and the middle school. Those are door barricade systems that will also be installed at the elementary schools this summer. In addition to all of those things, we've spent some considerable amount of time with our colleagues around the state in developing what's called a risk assessment tool. So in Oxford, it wasn't necessarily about the threat that was made, it was more about the warning signs, the proactive warning signs that led to how could we have known if there was going to be a problem. And so our staff has been trained in a comprehensive risk assessment tool, and what that is designed to do is to be able to have early identification of a student that might have propensity for violence to themselves or others, and we're engaging in that work right now. I want to talk about two very exciting topics as I close, because I know there'll be topics of interest. Number one, we have been the recipient of around $4.5 million of ESSER 3 funding. ESSER 3 funding comes from the state. It's a part of the American Rescue Plan, and those dollars are earmarked and designated for COVID-related expenses. So we can't just take those dollars and do whatever we want. There are certain strings attached to them and certain areas with which they have to be spent, but I do believe that they will provide us with an opportunity to do some pretty neat things. Some of those things include a therapy dog program that we're going to be launching in the next 6 to 8 months. The therapy dog program is something that we're really excited about. Mr. Brown actually happens to be here, and he's one of our champions and has been volunteering so graciously with his two dogs really now to be able to come around and really make a difference for our kids. And so we're going to be starting a program where we actually commission a dog in every building, possibly two in several of the larger buildings, where we will have handlers and training and all of those types of things. So that's a very exciting initiative. We're looking at creating classroom libraries to improve our literacy rates across the district, really buying some high quality literature and investing in that training. We have significant investment in some of our PPE and custodial cleaning supplies, and there's a long list of those things. But we're excited for the investment in those types of things. And one thing that I would close with, because I know everybody's asking about, are you going to make an announcement about Thursday being a snow day? And the answer is that I can't make that call just yet, but I will let you know that currently we go through this process, and every year I get the question, how is it determined that there would be a snow day or not a snow day? And we have drivers that are out on the roads. I'm usually on the phone with them around 3:30. And we're looking at a variety of factors. In our district, Gaines Elementary School, where the Gaines area is, some of those roads don't get hit for quite a while. And so we look at, can a bus safely travel down that road? We look at wind chill. For those of you that want to kind of do a predictor, if the wind chill, and it actually was really close yesterday, if the wind chill gets down to -18 degrees, the frostbite can occur within 5 to 10 minutes. And so that's when we actually would use that as a metric to also call for cold. I know that there's a storm that's called for on Thursday, so we'll be out driving and up very early in order to make those decisions. I know that we've tried to make a decision in the evening so that people can prepare for childcare and things like that whenever we can. We don't always know until the next day, but we have 6 days that we can call before we would have to start to think about making those days up at the end of the school year. And so we want to try and avoid that. As of this time, we are not at that point. We still have a couple to play with. That doesn't mean that I will call to, but it's possible that that could occur. And so appreciate all of your willingness to be flexible in those situations. I'd just like to close by saying that the schools are doing a lot of things really well. We have a lot of areas that we need to grow. We have a lot of areas where we need to improve, and we certainly acknowledge that, and we'll talk about some of those, I'm sure, throughout the evening. But it's an honor to serve with the great people that we have in our school system, and I'm very, very proud to be the superintendent. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Miss Tiara Goodman. Tiara is an 8th grade student at Swartz Creek Middle School, and she is the NJHS secretary, and she's going to provide an update on Swartz Creek Middle School.
First, I would just like to say thank you for coming out today. My name is Tiara Goodman, and I attend the middle school. I'm the secretary of NJHS, a web leader, an editor for my yearbook class, and a full-time gymnast. I am honored that I am able to represent my school tonight and inform you of all the amazing programs and activities that have helped Swartz Creek Middle School become a fun place to attend. The school has gone through many changes in the past few years because of the pandemic, but many positive things have come out of it. Everyone is looking forward to the renovations being completed. Teachers have adjusted their educational deliveries, including giving us challenges and service opportunities during snow days. A favorite was when our Spanish teacher, Miss Bell, gave us a chance to win $20 for doing chores around the house. Every chore was one entry. Some people got more than 15 entries. At the end of the day, Miss Bell would spin a wheel to choose a winner, and then we earned a $20 gift card. I also liked when Mrs. Robertson gave us a recipe to make snow ice cream. We handed them out to neighbors, and we earned service hours for the National Junior Honor Society. We have all been adjusting to the new changes that are happening at the middle school. Many programs such as Web, Where Everyone Belongs, and our Unified program have helped us connect with other students throughout the day so that we can feel more comfortable as peers. Other programs such as Student Council and National Junior Honor Society has helped us build relationships and assist others in the community. The Student Council has been working diligently to organize our paper recycling, and they are partnering with the PTO to organize the spring formal for the 8th graders. The Student Council also works relentlessly to plan Spirit Week so that the students and staff can have fun and show out. The students in NJHS volunteer their time to help the people in our community. We are working with the Little Dragons Learning Center to help them organize the Friendship Ball. We are also partnering with Snuggle Sacks, a nonprofit organization founded by a 4th grader in Linden to help the homeless in our community. We are arranging a fundraiser and collecting donations to contribute to the cause. We want to collect hand warmers, water bottles, and ramen noodle cups for the homeless. We are also putting together a contest for all classes to help us raise money. All these programs and activities have helped our school come together to make our school a positive place. We have had many hardships that have hurt our school, such as the Oxford shooting that occurred a few months ago, but some silver linings have come out of it. We have started doing mindfulness every morning during first hour to help us stay mindful throughout the day. We have also been introduced to a new way to interpret and comprehend our feelings and emotions by one of our 7th grade teachers, Mr. Kaplan. During Dragon Time, which is somewhat of like a study hall at the end of our day, students have been following the Positivity Project. It helps us stay aware of us and the people around us. Thank you to the teachers and staff for helping us find new and effective ways to keep us positive and open-minded while we are in school. I would also like to congratulate our new principal, Mrs. T. She always goes out of her way to make sure that the students in the school are doing well emotionally and mentally. I know that her role can be hard sometimes, but everything she has done for us has helped our school tremendously. Because Mrs. T became our new principal, Mr. Gatlin was promoted to vice principal, and we also lost one of our favorite teachers. Even though I never had him as a teacher, many of my friends have said many good things about him. He has done a phenomenal job in his new role. Thank you to the PTO for going out of their way to make the students feel comfortable planning all the amazing events that our school loves and enjoys. I just want all of our staff to know that they are doing an amazing job. Many of our elective classes are helping our students learn important life skills. Teen Survival is helping 8th graders get ready to provide for themselves. Other classes, such as band and choir, are teaching us how to manage time, build confidence, and enhance our reading skills. I'm very happy that I'm able to be a part of band. It has helped me feel more comfortable while performing, and that class helps me connect with other people. I'm so thankful that we are able to be a part of these programs and activities. We have had many successes because of the guidance from our staff, coaches, and teachers. I would like to give a shout out to my yearbook and video announcements class. We have accomplished something exceptional. We were the first group of kids under Jocelyn's yearbook to make $2,000 worth of profit from our yearbook and 8th grade ad sales. In addition, we have also made the afternoon announcements more engaging and fun to watch. We've gotten many compliments and praise for our successes. I would also like to congratulate our phenomenal competitive cheer team. They have been to 6 competitions and taken first place for every single competition. They have 2 more to go, and if they take first place at these last few competitions, they'll be the first cheer team in SCMS to accomplish this. We are watching history in the making. The 7th and 8th grade boys basketball teams are also doing wonderful. They have had some victories and losses, but they are holding their heads high. I would also like to recognize the archery and swim teams. Their drive and determination are guiding them to success. Thank you to all the people that represent our school by playing sports. They bring fun, school spirit, and help all of us connect and bond. It takes a lot of courage to perform for the school, so kudos to everyone. At this school, we get lots of fun opportunities such as the Washington, D.C. trip. We are leaving tomorrow night, and I know that all the 8th graders are very excited. We are given the opportunity to represent our school at Arlington National Cemetery. 4 students were chosen to lay wreaths at the tomb of the unknown soldier to pay homage to the people who lost their families and friends serving in the Army or military. The school held an essay contest to see who would be a good candidate for this role. There were 10 entries, and we were told that they were some of the best essays they've seen throughout the years. Good job to everyone who took time to write and submit these amazing essays. I, along with 3 other students, won the essay contest. I am thrilled that I am able to take part in this sacred ceremony. As you can see, our school has had many struggles, but we have also had many wonderful breakthroughs. Thank you again for taking the time to listen and giving me the opportunity to present to you today. Have a good evening. We are Creek. Next, we will be hearing from the junior class president from the high school, Lily West.
Good evening. I'm excited to report that at the high school, our extracurriculars and class councils have been working hard for us to have a productive, successful year. With things starting to go back to normal, we have been able to bring back many activities that have been halted the past few years due to COVID-19. We started this year off strong with Spirit Weeks, student sections at football games, and a homecoming dance with better attendance than we've seen in years. The Student Council has been busy this year planning and executing events such as boat dances, holiday Spirit Weeks, and the popular Anything But a Backpack Day, as well as planning service projects like our Stuff the Bus event, where hardworking Student Council volunteers gave up their Saturday to collect lots of non-perishables for those in need. They are currently getting ready to send 10 members to the state conference to increase their leadership skills and confer with other student councils so we may continue to improve. The school's Eco Club has been expanding their influence this year by continuing their recycling program and running a can and bottle drive. They have big plans for gardening and beautification this year once the weather starts to warm up. Link Crew has done a fabulous job welcoming freshmen this year with events like their freshman orientation, Cocoa and Cram, and the freshman Halloween party. Many of these events and more could not have happened without the assistance of our National Honor Society volunteers, who have also spent a great deal of time tutoring underclassmen. Mock trial has taught students a lot about our legal system and helped prepare them for possible future career paths. The Drama Club has created a very welcoming atmosphere for any student who wants to show off their talent. They did a wonderful performance of 12 Angry Jurors and are already starting preparations for the SpongeBob musical. The choirs and bands at our school have been increasing school spirit in many ways, from caroling to concerts to halftime shows at football games. We have recently welcomed a few new clubs to the lineup at Swartz Creek High School. The Debate Club gives passionate students a respectful, constructive environment to work with peers and build their positive argumentative skills. Another club we've had this year is the Cooking Club, where students can learn a useful lifelong skill. Mr. Doro has recently introduced a chemistry club for students to learn about chemical reactions and partake in fun experiments. Our class councils have also been hard at work this year. The senior class just had a Valentine's carnation sale that was a big hit. The junior class is busy getting ready for prom and making sure it is a memorable night. And the freshman class has big plans to start up an anti-vaping campaign to spread awareness of harmful side effects. Our sports teams have also been making some noise this year. From cross country to swim to basketball and everything in between, we have seen some very talented, hardworking students succeed. It is things like this that make myself and countless others proud to call ourselves Swartz Creek Dragons. With all of this going on in just the last 6 months, I know I speak for many other students as well when I say I can't wait to see what the rest of the year will bring and what other ways our student body will find to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you both. That was exceptional. And I would like to, at this time, offer that our panelists would come forward and take their seats. And while they're making their way up here, I will kind of introduce the audience to this next segment and how we're going to do this. And certainly, Tiara and Lily, you're welcome to stay up here and take any of these questions if you want. What we're going to do to start is we're going to introduce our panelists, and we have representation from across the district here. And we're going to be asking some questions and having a discussion just about some frequently asked questions that we get, both from the community, from parents, from students, from staff members. And so this will be an opportunity for you to get to know some of our staff members. And so we're going to start with Mr. Heatherton, and then we'll go down. And if you could just introduce yourself, the role that you play in the district, and who you are.
Oh, there we go. Good evening. My name is Rodney Heatherton. I am currently the Deputy Superintendent in Swartz Creek Schools. This is my 26th year in education, 7 in the classroom in Fenton and Flushing, 18 in Swartz Creek, 10 at Moorish Elementary as the principal, a 6-month stint at the high school, and the rest of the time at central office. I'm also a graduate of Swartz Creek in 1991 and have 5 children. Well, 3 now, 2 have already graduated.
They're still your children.
Good evening. My name is Elena Cook. I am a senior at Swartz Creek High School, and I am the district student representative to the school board.
My name is Jim Kitchen, the proud principal here at Swartz Creek High School. I've been in education for 26 years, 21 years as an administrator, 11 years as an administrator at Swartz Creek. The time flies, but Swartz Creek is a great place to be.
I am Melissa Titsworth, and as Tiara let you all know, I'm the new principal over at the middle school. However, they've called that my home for the last, I think, almost 10 years. And so I absolutely love it there. I do have 2 beautiful daughters of my own. They are still in school. And I absolutely just adore being here and being with the community and all of the kids here at Creek.
Hi, I'm Mary Rock. I currently teach middle school physical education, and I teach the teen survival class there, which is like a kind of a take on a home ec, and super fun to teach. We're in our 2nd year of that, so I love it. And previously, I taught at Gaines Elementary, at Cyrene Elementary in PE, also at the high school. I taught some French, so I kind of have the melting pot of subjects that I've taught. I've taught here for 26 years. I've only taught in Creek, and it's a great place to teach and exist with my colleagues and our community. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lori Anthony, and I'm an English teacher at the high school. I have been with Swartz Creek for 13 years. My first year I taught at the alternative and then transferred to the high school. I absolutely love my job. I love what I do. But I'm also a community member. I've had 2 kids that graduated from Swartz Creek, and they are still my kids. And I love, you hear a lot of people say that they don't like to work in the districts. They don't like to live in the districts that they teach, and I actually think that that is a positive. I absolutely love being a member of the community and also a member of Swartz Creek Community Schools.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Wildy. I am the principal at Cyrene Elementary, and I have over 30 years in education. Most of those years in Swartz Creek. I graduated from Swartz Creek in 1987, so a few years ahead of Rod Heatherton down there. And I am a member of this community, have been my whole life, and I just really enjoy what I do, enjoy giving back to the place that I'm from, and I love working with all of your lovely children that come through our system. I have over the years taught at every level. I've taught or worked in, been an administrator in high school, alternative high school, community ed, middle school, and then now at the elementary level. So I have an understanding of not only where our kids start out in our system, but I know all the levels that they are headed to when they leave us at Cyrene. So glad to see all of you here tonight. It's nice to see people that are from the community and want to be involved in our schools. Thank you for coming tonight.
Good evening. My name is Amy Paul. Sorry, I had conferences tonight. I am a first, second grade teacher at Moorish. I'm actually teaching a split this year. I've been working with the district, I believe, for 18 years. I did 8 years as a aide support staff at Cyrene, which is where I also attended school as a child, while I got my teaching degree. And then I was hired, and I've been at Moorish as a teacher for 10 years. I've taught kindergarten and second grade this year. Like I said, my first year was a first, second grade split, which is an adaptation we made due to COVID and students being online and coming back and different things. And so we adjusted, and it's going wonderfully. I graduated from Swartz Creek in 1990. My husband graduated from Swartz Creek in 1989. We raised our family here. I think anyone who knows me knows that I am a Swartz Creek Dragon all the way. So, and when I went to school, and I said this in my interview, and Rod was there. I said, I didn't go to college to be a teacher. I went to college to be a Swartz Creek teacher. And I still think that today.
That's awesome. So thank all of you for participating tonight. And so we're going to start off, and I'm going to ask them some questions that come up frequently. You as an audience will also have a chance to ask questions momentarily, but one of the conversations that gets had quite a bit is this concept of bullying in school. And so there's oftentimes this, either a notion that the school doesn't do anything or they don't address it, or maybe they address it too harshly. We get, kind of both accusations in some cases. So maybe just anyone that would like to take the question, talk a little bit about your experience, maybe either having experienced the bullying, having to address the bullying, talk maybe about what's really going on in the school as it relates to that.
I'll start out with the elementary level, and especially at the K2, the lower L, but also at our 3-5 upper L buildings. Bullying is something that we have to educate our children about. It is not only against school board policy, but against the law in our state, and we take it very seriously. And so we start at a very young age, educating our children about what bullying is and what it is not, and what to do if they are a victim of bullying, and what to do if they're a bystander and they witness bullying. So we address the bullying issue at a multiple of levels. We have a social emotional curriculum, second step, and it has an anti-bullying component with specific lessons. And in fact, Melissa Neal out there in the audience has gone into classrooms and taught those first few lessons and continues on a monthly basis to go in and teach those lessons. So at a very young age, we're teaching our kids what bullying is, what it's not, it's against the law, what to do if you're a victim, what to do if you're a bystander, and certainly teaching them not to be a bully.
I'll kind of move on to the middle school. So once Michelle's done with them and then we come up to the middle school, they definitely understand that concept when they get to us. And being proactive with that, we teach the Positivity Project at the middle school. Every single one of our Dragon Time classes, that's our end of the period day that Tiara was talking about earlier. We have a 25-minute time period where they have lessons that just teach them about being kind and how to have conversations with each other and how to handle things appropriately. That's one of the big things that we talk about at the middle school, is how to handle our emotions, and that lovely other word that we deal with at the middle school all the time, the hormones at the middle school. We go from having kids that are just laughing hysterically to crying to, and they really don't have control of it at this time period in their life. So we've done a lot with our SEL program with the 5-point scale this year, just getting them to be self-aware of their own emotions, because that truly impacts how they interact with their peers. One of the big things that I hope that you all can take out to the rest of the community is that all of us sitting up here, we don't know what we don't know. And so there are times when things are happening that it doesn't get reported to us. So you guys are our eyes and ears. So if there is something going on, we want to know about it. I will tell you, at the middle school level, your kids will tell you, don't call the principal, don't call the counselor. I don't want anyone to know about this. But then we're just allowing those situations to continue to happen. So we teach our kids through a lot of restorative practices that how to interact with someone that they are not getting along with or that is just being unkind to them. But there's a lot of teaching that goes through that, a lot of making sure that kids are comfortable having those conversations. One of the other hard things for our middle school students to understand is there's a huge confidentiality piece. So it is any time there is any bullying that is brought up to us, it is always dealt with. But unfortunately, with that confidentiality, I can't go to the other student and say, well, this is what happened to that student, just as that student wouldn't want others to know what's happening with them. We deal with it, we let them know it's been addressed, and then we always let them know, if this continues, you've got to come back to us and let us know. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, I mean, look at the news every night. When you address something, it isn't always solved the first time, which breaks my heart, but that doesn't make us stop. We continue to keep working on those things with the help of our students and our parents. So if your child is coming home and stating that there's something going on, please reach out to us. We have some of the, and I'm not just partial to the middle school, but we really truly have some of the most amazing support staff, counselors, social workers in this district that go above and beyond to work with our kids and helping them how to work with each other.
And I'll speak to the high school. Being in administration for as long as I have, bullying absolutely exists. And I can tell you, as a parent, I have my child goes to Swartz Creek High School. Every time I am faced with a bullying situation, I try to act as if it's my kid. I try to feel the pain that a parent would feel. And also, you know, you can suspend a student, you can put them out. That won't change the behavior. Our goal has been to try to restore. Our goal is we want to teach kids to do academics, but we also want to teach them how to act and treat each other. And so we do a lot of the times use restorative practices in that manner so that we can help students put the shoes of the other person on. And so a lot of times that might be interpreted as something being swept under the rug or not being attended to appropriately. When we have to, we absolutely use discipline, but our biggest goal is to teach all of our students to be productive citizens in our society. And so that happens. And I can tell you, bullying exists all the way up from kindergarten through 50, 60 years old. I mean, just look at some of our social media posts out there, and we wonder how some kids learn this idea of bullying. But I can tell you with all of my heart, there's never been a time when it has been swept under the rug or ignored, and I always address it in a way that I would if it was my own child.
Thank you. And feel free, teachers, students, to just jump in and take any of these. I guess the next question that has been posed a lot, not necessarily from parents in the community, but it's kind of a conversation that's going on across the state, and that is just this concept of burnout, right? So teachers, administrators are feeling it. I believe students are feeling it as well. So maybe any of you want to just speak to what is it like being a student, being a teacher in 2022, having lived through the last couple years, especially if you've had experiences prior to that, and what does that look like?
So spoken as a student here, it definitely is not my favorite thing in the world to have to go to school through COVID. I think last year was probably the hardest year just because we were constantly being put into school but then having to go back out so everyone can get healthy and then moving back in. This year, our administration has done a wonderful job, and our teachers as well, of trying to make this as normal as possible. And it is crazy since some teachers are still working with students online and students have come back who haven't been at school since March 2020. And so I don't want to say that they've forgotten what it's like to be in school, but at the same time, it is a lot harder, especially with the 7-hour day. It is productive for some students who need that extra credit, but for some, it's just an extra class that is piling up. But it also allows for more time. Like me personally, I'm able to take this conducting class that I would not have been able to do, which is helping me in my career because I want to go into education. Teachers are definitely feeling the stress of that extra period and having to also teach students essentially almost 3 years of schoolwork when it all jammed in 1 year. However, our administration, our teachers, and our students, we are working very hard, and I think we are definitely starting to see the light at the other end of the tunnel.
I think some things that I see are, just the struggle of students having to adjust and pivot and learn online and then learn at school and learn how to interact with other humans again, because so many are, there's so much screen time out there, and they get in this mode of, well, they wouldn't have their screen on when you taught virtually, and then you're like, hey, are you even there? Hello, is this thing on? So sometimes you would face that challenge of, are they even getting the instruction that I'm trying to give? And teachers I know struggled with trying to prepare curriculum for online learning, which is totally different than in-person learning, and trying to meet all the needs of all these learners at all these different levels. And that's very challenging, and it's very stressful, and also for the students. But now this year we're expecting to come back to normal, and it's just not normal. And we're finding that a lot of our students, we are spending so much of our time trying to teach kids just how to exist with other humans and how to interact and be appropriate and respond appropriately and deal with their emotions and their ups and downs. And their, academic learning is down here a lot of the time because they missed so much, or they didn't engage, or they didn't feel well, or their family was sick. There are so many factors that go into our day of trying to meet the needs of our students. And a lot of people feel like they're failing, and it's a big struggle for them. And they think, is it time for me to go? Is it time for me to get out? When they still may really love what they do.
And I'll just add a little bit to that. Before this started, I was jotting down notes, so I'm so glad that Ben brought this up. I feel like this year I was excited because I felt like school was going to be normal again. And the first semester for me was just helping my students, how do we all do school again? And I finally feel like we're making some leeway. But as teachers, we have, a set curriculum. We're at a set pace that we've always used. And so now I think post-COVID, the pace is different. Everything is a little bit slower. And what I've learned through this process, not even just for my students, but for teachers, it's quality over quantity. It's okay if I don't get through all of the pieces of literature that I did before COVID. It's okay, because we're all stressed out. And I also say too, I give myself grace and I offer grace to the students, and I know our staff at Swartz Creek High School, at all of the schools, that we're just trying to find what that new normal looks like. It doesn't mean that the education is different. It just means that the pace is a little bit different, what we teach is a little bit different, and we're still all trying to get back to what school looks like. And it's okay if it's a little bit different. We just have to be okay with that. And change is not easy for any of us. I like to think I'm good at change, but I'm really not.
I can tell you from what I've observed, I have kind of the unique opportunity. I was the principal here at the K-5 building at Elms Road. I've been at the high school for 5 years. When I was in elementary for all those years, I always heard that elementary teachers care about kids, high school teachers care about content. And so when I came to the high school, I had an opportunity to see that that is absolutely not true. I am so blessed with the high school staff that I have, and I can tell you they're feeling the strain. I see it in their eyes, so we hear it when we go to meetings. And to think this year we offer professional development for after-school meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday. This team comes together. They work so hard on those days, and I feel for a lot of them because I know the stress that COVID has caused. This is one of the reasons we had our attendance policy. You know, I have teachers saying, we care about where the kids are. If they're not coming to school, if they're skipping class, we don't know where they are, and then they'll come in and they'll ask us to catch them up on what they're missing. And I've watched them do that. I've watched them work with kids, and in my mind, I'm thinking, yes, we're an educational institution first. Relationships are important, but we've got to get our kids in class. And so this is why we decided that it's been in our handbook, we've never pushed it, but it is time. As our students are learning to be students again, we have to do things that get them back into class. And I can tell you that at the high school, and I can say this around about the other staffs, these teachers, these support staff care about your kids so much. It's why they went into teaching. And just a kind word that comes to them lifts them up in so many ways. And I heard a quote that said I can go a couple of months on a good compliment. That is true with our teachers and our support staff. If they hear somebody say, thank you, you're doing a good job, I know it's a challenge, that lifts them up so much. But I'm proud of what I have observed in my teaching staff at the high school, and they really have embraced this, and they are committed to making sure that your kids are safe and that they have a great educational experience.
And if I just may say one more thing about that, I wrote a letter to parents, and I know when I speak to the other staff members that I work with, we are a team. Our staff at the high school and parents. If we work together, there isn't anything that we can't do. I know that sounds really cliche, but as a teacher, I can't do it all. We need your help as staff members. And like Mr. Kitchen said, attendance is a huge struggle, and it is a part of my stressor. Because if I have a class and 15 students are missing, I teach the lesson for the day, and then I want to give the students an opportunity for a work day. But then the next day, that's supposed to be a work day, I'm teaching again. So the attendance piece, and the students want to be there. They're much more productive when they're with us, learning. And you guys know you struggled through that with the online learning. It's difficult. So we're a team.
I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all of our teachers because we have this sub shortage or where they're like non-existent. I want you guys to understand that these teachers truly this year have not had any planning time. I mean, I tried to make it fun for my staff, and I danced down the hallway with the little orange sheets that say, please, will you go cover for this teacher now? And they hide from me. But they truly, this year they go out of their way for one another. We've had several teachers that have been out with COVID, where they even go on their own and they come to me and say, hey, so-and-so's class has had a sub for a while. I'm going to take their sub, put them in my class. I'm going to go teach their class just because we know those kids need it. I mean, they're looking for these opportunities to make sure that we are giving the best education we can to your children in the circumstances that we have. So, and this is not just our teachers, this is down to our bus drivers, our cooks, our custodians. There's just no one to replace them. So it's our team that is literally just standing up for each other, pulling each other up, and making sure that that everything does still get done.
As a student going through COVID at school, it was difficult doing the online because, as every student will tell you, 6 classes online is a lot of work, and it just feels like way more than it would when you're in school because you kind of feel like you're on your own with it. But one of the biggest issues I had was feeling isolated and not being able to talk to people or see people as much. Because seeing people at school and having in-person relationships and talking to your teachers face-to-face and talking to your friends and things face-to-face is something that a lot of students rely on. So it felt really isolating to be completely online. Even though like we were on Zoom, it still felt like so separate. And it was hard to create those relationships with your teachers when you're over the screen. So this year has been, none of my high school years have been without COVID so far. So this year has been the most where we've been in school the whole time. And despite everything, I think that this year has been my best year of high school, just because we've been there the whole time and I've been able to talk to my friends, have those face-to-face relationships with my teachers, and experience things that I wasn't before. Like I was able to do powder puff and go to both dances and do after-school activities. And for me, the most important part of school for me is the opportunities it gives you. So it's nice to be able to take the opportunities and be face-to-face and be back to that after feeling so isolated before. To being back to that is just so much better and so easier to do school, and it relieves so much stress to be able to have those other things in your life.
Thank you. And what people might not know is that also both of your parents are teachers in Swartz Creek, and that adds a lot of extra stress as well. So go ahead, yeah.
I would like to speak for the kindergarten through second grade. How do I put this? So normally, second graders are very adept to school. We have seen this year some second graders who did online last year had not been to school since March of their kindergarten year. I have first graders this year who have never been to school because they did kindergarten online. Our kindergartners were 3 when COVID started. So we are seeing it in every area. I mean, even as simple of a task as asking our students to write about a special event they went to or their favorite vacation or a birthday party, and a lot of them have never done it because if they have, it was when they were 4 years old and they don't remember it. Or the kindergartners were 3, a lot of them have never been on a vacation because, so we are really seeing at the K2 level. And how we had to adjust was, in our mind, it's reading, writing, math, reading, writing, math. And the teachers had to, a lot of times, set that aside and get out Legos and art paper. A lot of them, the kids can't hold pencils or scissors. And we really had to focus on the social emotional learning because a large number of kids have never been in a group with a group of students before. In a big group, they've never learned to take turns or to stand in a line and so I think that we had to completely change our mindset on what our job was this year. We are still obviously reading, writing, and math, but we also had to really look at how important the social emotional learning part was. So the K2 teachers have spent a lot of time talking about that, and already seeing how my students played together at the beginning of the year and how they played together now is amazing, and it really makes you see how much they missed, how much they never got to do before. So.
That's awesome. One of the things that has been a discussion across our district has been this idea of STEM education and inquiry in the classroom. And I know some of you have more experience in that with others, more experience with that than others. I know Mr. Heatherton, you've been kind of at the epicenter of a lot of this. So if anyone wants to talk a little bit about, some of the things that are happening in the district as it relates to STEM education and maybe how that is creating opportunities for kids to get excited again about learning.
I'll start. Inquiry is such an important piece of learning because the students have fun discovering something new. We probably started STEM at Deke Elementary with Mr. Fuller almost 10 years ago, and we took that model of that inquiry and diving into investigations and getting things out, and he built some amazing structures that we have then replicated across all the elementaries, and it's what's led to the new STEM additions at all the buildings. And at the middle school and the high school, we have Project Lead the Way. And so there is a continuum of inquiry in science and math all the way up from the kindergartners all the way through high school, where we're doing pre-engineering classes, multiple engineering classes, robotics. And so I remember going to the middle school Project Lead the Way open house for the first time and watching all of the kids just present projects and all of the different things that they experimented on, and being able to tell the tale of what they thought was going to happen and what actually didn't happen, and that talking about how it's okay to fail. We as educators, we've been saying that our whole lives, but to hear that come out of students' mouths, and accept that learning is a journey and that you got to keep trying and experimenting, that was a phenomenal experience. And they said, the most important part or the most fun thing at school is when I get to, get up and move around and really work with things. And so I'm really excited just about the spaces that we've created to take that concept and just continue to have that exploration expand for all of our kids.
I am beyond excited to open up our new STEAM lab next year. I get excited every time Ben sneaks into the building because I'm like, do we get to go on a field trip? Like, can I get to go see where we're at? And then just like telling Michelle Wildy, who is our district STEM coordinator, and our science teachers, and we're almost there. We've got this going on. We've got this going on. It is going to be an absolutely amazing spot for our students to truly learn through this inquiry-based learning style. It is our science teachers right now, they learn through storylines. I will tell you that our staff has struggled with this, but those that have kind of gotten the knack of it, it is amazing to watch the kids in those classes. They literally are leading the class. They are, the teachers there just as a facilitator, and the students are guiding where the class is going, and it just naturally, you will see the vocabulary come out, and you will see how they solve for their phenomena, and it's the students that are truly bringing this out on their own. It is definitely not sit and get. It is not how most of us went to school. So for some of my teachers, it's been a little bit harder to embrace that. They want it, they're practicing it. It's that whole, they're going through that whole, first attempt in learning also, and being okay with failing. But to go in and watch the teachers learning right along with the students, it's an absolutely amazing thing also. I would like to invite all of you, March 3rd, we will have our second, it would have been our fourth, but darn COVID got in the way. We'll have our second STEAM night at the Swartz Creek Middle School. All of our Mrs. Swales class, our 6th grade group, all of her kids, so she has roughly around 150 kids, have done Kettering Young Innovators projects. We've got some just geniuses in our school. They're going to be making like big bucks because of some of the projects and inventions that they have come up with. Super, super cool. So they will be out and displayed that night. We will also have our Project Lead the Way classes. They will have some of their different projects and experiments going. All of our science teachers will have something that they've been working on as a storyline in or throughout this first semester. And we also have our Genesee County partners that are coming. So we've reached out to some of our big engineering partnerships and asked them to come in and to work with us. We are lucky we actually have one of our very own Swartz Creek Dragons, Michaela Gunther, is actually filling in for our PTLW spot that is open right now, and she's lived the life of innovation and inquiry-based learning at Kettering, and now she's bringing that experience back to our middle school students and just doing some great things with them also. So March 3rd, I'd love to see all of you there.
And we have a particularly strong science department. Some of you who have graduated might remember we haven't had much turnover in our science department. So you may know those teachers really specifically. So with that, we do have Project Lead the Way, as Mr. Heatherton mentioned. One of the things, our high school was honored for having so many options with AP courses and honors courses. And as a result of having so many of those options, we typically pull kids who might might be taking Project Lead the Way or engineering classes. So it's a good problem to have, but still a problem nonetheless. But with the addition of our new STEM facility, now our science teachers will be able to provide experiences within that most kids would take into engineering class in this new makerspace. And so we'll have a room that's set up for woodworking, a room for biology, a chem lab, a robotics room. And so now our teachers who do well with the inquiry model and modeling will be able to do more with that. They'll be able to go into these maker spaces and create these opportunities for inquiry. So it's really awesome, and we're hoping our Project Lead the Way will be able to really tap into that maker space also to provide just these wonderful STEM experiences for our students.
And I just wanted to mention that not only is it a part of our regular school year, it's a part of our summer school. Rod sets it up for our elementary and middle school students, and I was a member of the phenomenal team, the middle school team this year at Elms Elementary, and I'm an English teacher. It was amazing for me to see the excitement from the kids. They wanted to come to summer school, and just their excitement and their love of learning, and they couldn't wait to see what they were going to experiment with the next day. And so that's a part of our summer school too. And so that's absolutely amazing.
Just to piggyback on that real quick, I asked Michelle Bilby, who has been just the phenomenal pusher of STEM, I said, I want to change summer school. Can you help me and put the focus around STEM? And she said yes 3 years ago, and it's the best thing we've ever done as a district. And then with our ESSER money, we were able to, our budget was 10 times what a normal summer school budget was, and thankfully for 2 more years, we'll have that ESSER money, and we've been able to expand and provide experiences over July and August that we've never been able to before. So it's big kudos to Michelle and all of our teachers and support staff that take part in that, because they give up the majority of their summer, but they provide experiences for the students that they wouldn't otherwise have.
And just to round it out at the elementary level, one thing we've added new this year is we have in our specials rotation, all of our K-5 students get experiences in music and art and in technology and physical education. And this year we added STEM to their rotations. So in addition to the STEM opportunities that they get in their classroom with their teacher, they also have a focus, and they rotate through. So they get exposed to all those different types of learning, and they start to learn more about themselves and what they really enjoy and like. And then as they go on into middle school and high school, then they can start to specialize and explore further in what they enjoy the most. So they might become a band student down the road, but they might be that student who's more interested in doing like a Project Lead the Way class and getting more into the engineering and the STEM and the sciences. So it's a nice exposure for all of our students that they have that opportunity at a very young age.
So this is because in the interest of time, I want to give the audience an opportunity to ask questions of you as well. But what I'd like to do, just kind of lightning round, not everybody has to answer, but you certainly can. We'll start at the end with Mrs. Paul. You can either answer this from your own personal perspective or as a district. Maybe just the thing that you're the most excited about moving forward, and the thing that you think is our greatest challenge or your greatest challenge moving forward. If each of you could kind of pick one thing that you'd say, hey, this is the thing I'm most excited about, and this is the thing that I think is going to be my biggest challenge as we kind of move forward.
Well, what I'm most excited about is probably is that I really hope that masks stay gone for a while. Teaching 5, 6, and 7-year-olds how to read in a mask is a challenge that is unbelievable. I am excited for,
You can say summer or any of those things.
a summer vacation. No. What was the other part of that?
What do you think is the biggest challenge you face? And
The biggest challenge is definitely social emotional learning that we've lost due to COVID. I mean, and I'm speaking K2, and I know the other students have, had experience with school, and then they lost that. So they kind of mourned the time they were away from their friends, and they knew what they were missing. Our students don't know what they've missed, and now we have to kind of give them those opportunities. That is our biggest challenge. We have to show these kindergartners and these first graders and these second graders and give them time. Like I said, they haven't been to birthday parties, they haven't been roller skating, a lot of them didn't go to the movies, all these things were shut down, and some of them did, but they don't remember. So providing opportunities for our kids so that they can grow and hopefully recover from the loss of the years that we did have. That is going to be a challenge. I really thought at the end of last year, on our last day of school, we were all kind of high-fiving, saying we did it. We made it through. Hardest year of our lives. Really thinking this year, we were not realizing that this was the year that we were going to feel the effects of COVID on our students. So that is going to be a challenge, but I think we all know that. And I think we're preparing for that, and we're training for that. I really should have something better to say other than math, but I'm really looking forward to teaching phonics without wearing a mask. I'm going to have to say that.
I am just really excited every day for the opportunity to come into this district and my building in specifically. I am excited to work with the greatest team of educators I've ever known. I'm gonna tear up, sorry. The people that I work with across the district in every building, and again in my building in particular, we love on your children every day. And I see people just working their hearts out, and to be able to walk into that every day is a joy. I know I'm crying, it's been a long day. But it truly is, I love my job, it's a joy. I said I have over 30 years in, and I still come to work, I look forward to it every day. And getting the hugs in the hallways from the kids, watching the little things that are growth. So Michelle Corbett, that retired, our former middle school principal and current communications director, she's also promoting all her diet plan stuff. So if you're friends with her on Facebook, she talks a lot about the non-scale victories. And in education right now, I think we really have to look at the non-scale victories. So academically, yes, our children have gaps, and they've missed a lot. But as Amy pointed out, there are a lot of things that our kids are learning and doing in school right now that you can't measure on a STAR math or a STAR reading test. They're learning how to get along and how to work in teams and how to lose without losing their minds over something. It's just incredible, the learning that's happening. So it is a joy to come every day and work with our team, work with your children. And I say the biggest challenge is probably the social emotional needs of the children, the mental health issues that we have to address now. I think a lot of us as educators are truly having to learn a lot about how to provide what our children come to us needing now that we didn't necessarily have to do in the past. And so that is probably the biggest challenge to me and to my staff, is to figure out how to help these children and the greater incidence of trauma, mental illness, and just all kinds of emotional issues going on with our children today.
Thank you for giving me some time to think.
So I am most excited about this. Was not difficult for me because I work with some of the best teachers. I am so excited about collaboration. This, even through everything else that we've shared tonight, I feel like our staff at the high school, we are collaborating consistently, and because we're trying to do what's best for kids. We have been collaborating, like I said, in my hallway. The energy level is to the roof. We're doing everything we can to try to make lessons more engaging. You know, we talked about STEM, but I feel like that project-based learning it's bleeding into every classroom because we know that we have to do things differently. We want the kids engaged. If they're engaged, then they're learning. If they're just sitting there, sit and get, they're not learning. So we've had to change up, and the collaboration is amazing. I'm so excited. I just left a meeting today where everybody was collaborating and excited about what's new, what can we do better. The challenges, you know, kind of like everybody else. Again, the same people in the hallway that our energy is through the roof. The burdens are very heavy because, because we want the kids to know that they can be successful, to not give up so quickly. You know, learning life, it's tough. We fail, and guess what? It's okay. So that's a challenge. That's a challenge for all of us every single day. But guess what? We're not giving up.
So, greatest challenge, I would say teacher shortage is approaching. We're already in it. And how do we sustain that? How do we provide the best education for all of your children with maybe staff shortages, and how do we keep that energy going? Because people love what they do. So I would say that is probably the greatest challenge. And then I'm most excited about, selfishly, I want this STEM wing to open because I have my eyes set on Lisa Loader's classroom. And I'm going to move in there. And I'm going to put my teen survival class. I'm going to get some ovens. We're going to bake and cook. And I'm so excited. And everyone's getting on this project-based learning train. And PE's been doing it since the test of time. And so we're hands-on. We've been hands-on. We're the OG. So that's what's exciting, that everyone's getting on our train right now, that I'm excited about that. So all this hands-on learning and diving in and experimenting, that is super exciting and fun. So, yay,
This
bring
is
it.
just a little,
I know, shameless plug.
Little taste of what we do in the hallways too every day with the kids. We are just as goofy as they are. Again, I am so thankful for the team that I have at the middle school. This has been an extremely difficult year for me. Michelle Corbett retired. She is one of the best mentors I could have ever asked for, and just a very, very true friend. And just going through all of her struggles and trying to be there for her, and then also learning. I mean, I've been in that building, I feel like forever, but there was so much that I didn't know that I had to learn on the fly this year. So it's definitely been a huge learning curve for me, but I've had the greatest team that has given me all the support in the world, not just at the middle school, but across the district. So I'm super appreciative of that. My biggest challenge for our kids, I just really pray that our learning gaps that the whole world wants to talk about, that our children don't let that define them. I don't think people understand how it is impacting our kids. None of this was their fault. These kids seriously have more perseverance and more grit than anyone is giving them right now, because this has been their normal. We're all, struggling with, we're going to get back to normal, and they're just like, hey, this is what we do. So I think us adults could really learn a lot from the kids. So I'm, again, just the non-scale victories, I think that is huge. Thank you, Corbett, for that. Just seeing the growth that our kids have had being out and away from each other, just like the girls have talked about down there. It's huge. I don't think people truly understand, with a lot of the parent conversations I've had this year, how that the social emotional aspect, it has affected every single kid. Some of our parents don't quite understand why we're spending so much time on the trauma-informed care. Every single person in this building right now has been through trauma. We've all been through the same trauma. It's called a pandemic. We've all experienced it in some way, shape, or another. So we have to understand and accept the fact that it has affected our children, and we need to be there for them to help them understand and grow and get through that kind of stuff. So the thing that gets me most excited is seeing the excitement in the kids' eyes when we are able to provide the opportunities that we haven't had in the last, couple of years. So the basketball games and, the dances and the fun nights and just them being goofy in the hallway and not so rigid with all of the COVID protocol and everything, and just getting to see them be kids and to have the hugs again. I mean, that makes my day. As soon as I walk in that door, I am greeted with a hug. Within 3 seconds of walking in the door, someone's hugging me, and that's what gets me through the day.
Mr. Kitchen, I'm going to give you the 5-minute warning. We have 5 people left, and so you got 1 minute. You got it.
All right, and I'm not going to cry, but I respect the passion for sure.
Means.
What I'm most excited about, I can honestly say that our students show such good spirit. I'm proud of them. One of the things when I stepped into this building, I'm asking them to have school spirit in a facility that is not worthy of them. And now through this renovation, they're going to have something they can be proud of. So when they walk into other Flint Metro League schools, they'll be able to look and know that they have what those kids have. And so we're going to have a big grand opening. When this all happens, we want you to come and see what our kids are going to experience, right down to what might seem like a minor thing, but we're going to have air conditioning in this building, and it's going to be wonderful. The thing that we need to improve upon is attendance. I promise you, if we get the kids in class, they will learn.
So something I am really excited to see is how the position that I'm doing this year, the student representative position, how that continues to grow and help our students through the next few years. I'm the third one. Jacob Warren was our first, and his main goal was to make this a position every year. Last year, it was Brendan Johnson, and his main goal was to make it through the pandemic. And so my main goal was to try to get students and principals involved. How can I better represent our students in a clear and positive way? How can I help our school district? And so I hope with everything that I've managed to get in place with help from Mr. Kitchen, Mr. Heatherton, Mr. Minka, and so many other people, that whoever takes over next year will be able to grow those things and better help our students through the district.
I am most excited to confirm that my children are my children and dragons. That was kind of the point. That's class of 19, 20, 23, 30, and 33. Opportunity would be the most, did I not say 5?
You said 19. It's 2000,
19,
right?
20,
2000. You're going to be like 65.
30, 33. Yeah. That's 5. Opportunity. The community to have put this bond in place, and we're going to have the opportunity to be in those STEM wings, and that is an opportunity to do some of the things that we've been doing so well. The opportunity with some of this ESSER money to do these summer school huge programs that really help us fill those gaps that have occurred because of the pandemic. The opportunity also, what Lori was talking about collaborating, we're going to spend probably close to $500,000 in classroom libraries. So it's all of those student opportunities that we can take advantage of because of the community, because of the pandemic, and do something about it. My biggest concern besides student learning is what Mary said, and that's the what are we going to do about staff shortage. I have already seen multiple excellent people leave this year. And we're halfway through the year. Multiple people are already gone. And I know of multiple people that are going to go, and so what are we going to do when we lose our great people, and our great people are going to go, and there's not people to step in place. So I know that it's a fun thing to tell your teenagers don't go into education, but I would challenge you that education is the most rewarding thing you could go into, and that we really need great people who want to step up and make a difference.
I think the most challenging thing that we're gonna have to face this semester is just the uncertainty of not knowing, like, our case is gonna go up, our case is gonna go down, are we gonna have to keep wearing masks, are we gonna go back online, like all these questions. And it's not very helpful, but to be honest, I'm excited for a whole bunch of things, but the thing I'm most excited for is the lacrosse season, where I'm not terrified of being quarantined.
I think one of the biggest struggles I've seen with the peers at the middle school is getting involved and engaged with learning. I know some of the students aren't as excited to learn as some of my friends. I think that's a big struggle. So I am excited to see the STEM lab open because I feel like it'll get students more involved. They'll have something to look forward to, and I think it will be very good.
Thank all of you for your participation, and you're not done yet, because what we'd like to do at this time is we're going to invite any of you that would like to ask a question. We have a microphone stand there. We have a microphone stand there. And so kind of the ground rules are pretty simple. This is like a town hall. We're here for you to ask questions. Obviously, the people that are here represent our school district and our school community. So if you'd like to address a question specifically to them, something that you may have heard about tonight, if you just have another question about something else going on, whether you want to address it directly to me or to any of the students or staff that are up here, we invite you to ask those questions, and we'll do our best to try and get you an answer.
Cue the Price is Right music. We need the come on down kind of situation.
Mr.
Mr. Gillette, you got it?
Yeah.
All right. Hello? Okay. First, before I even ask my question, I would first like to recognize Miss Tiara Goodman. I've known Tiara for a very long time, and I just want to tell you how proud I am of you. How hardworking you are and how smart you are. I couldn't be more proud of you. So, congratulations for all you're doing. To get into my question, I'd like to recognize all of you and the impact you've had in my life. Being my teacher, being the principal, whatever it was, you've all had an impact in my life. And as your student, I recognize that we have all seen new issues pop up every single day. However, there are issues that are clear and present every single day. So to all of you, I ask this. What is, in your opinion, the largest issue you see every single day, and what steps are being taken to either quell or resolve these issues? Thank you.
So any of you can take that if you want.
And should I sit down?
It's up to you. You can stand there if you want.
Well, obviously, as we've all said, there's a learning gap going on, and I think probably one of the most prominent features we have in Swartz Creek is our MTSS system. We've been looking at data for 15 years. It's now the state law to look at it 3 times a year. We've been looking at it 3 times a year for years. We just had our winter meeting. We've identified gaps. We've laid down interventions. The buildings have had grade level meetings. They put interventions in place. So I think the teachers are working tremendously hard to really hone in on what those specific gaps are and have a concrete plan on what they're doing about it for the second semester.
I think we're seeing all these behaviors as a result of the mixture of learning styles that we've gone through. And there's some challenges there with behavior and just how to just come in a classroom, be ready to learn, how to be prepared for class. We have kids that come in that are tired. They're staying up on their device at night, and how do we teach them, hey, you got to shut that down, get some good sleep, come in prepared to learn, come into school to learn with the attendance. And so some of these, we're just trying to get them to manage, how do you get along with others? How do you exist in a building? How do you come back together as a community and treat your peers with some respect and regard? And it's a learning process that we're coaching them through, and it's a daily task, I would say, that we step up to that challenge each day, and some days we're more successful than others.
I would say at the elementary level, in particularly the two K2 buildings, we've seen, as Mr. Micah said, the hierarchy of needs. So the very first layer of that, we have to make sure that kids feel safe. And we also have to make sure that our staff feel safe. And with the social emotional issues, the mental health issues, we've had to do a lot of our trauma-informed training. We have had crisis prevention intervention training, restorative practices training, just lots and lots of training that's been needed, and our staff has really stepped up to the plate in learning those things and practicing those things with our students, and we are seeing the impact of those of that training and of those practices as we enact them in our buildings.
Mr. Sayer, at the high school, it's absolutely attendance, as I've stated. Well, what we're doing about it, good question. We have an at-risk committee who reaches out to families, and we try to get contracts in place. We try to provide any kind of resources that might help students get to school on time every day. We also have the new incentives. It's important to be in school, and if you can't participate in other things unless you're committed to learning. And so those are some of the actions that we're taking at the high school to help with our issue.
And just one other thing is, I know you're going to speak, but just reminding myself that, we get, as a teacher, you get so focused on what you're going to teach for the day, but you got to remember that basic needs. We have kids that, how can they possibly learn in my class when they have so much going on in their personal life, or there's trauma or turmoil, and I want them to come in and do jumping jacks and learn hockey? Like, come on, like, let's get real. Like, they're dealing with some real things. And so just having that reality check every day, and then just being able to step back and say, okay, take a minute, this kid's going through something, let's find out what's behind this behavior, and let's figure it out and work with them. And that's what we do.
I just wanted to piggyback kind of on what Tiara and Mrs. Rock said. The student engagement, a lot of it is because of some of the trauma that the kids are going through. And so for some of our learners that just have not figured out how to get back into school and get acclimated and do what we considered normal, that's been a real struggle. So I can tell you at the middle school, we are constantly checking in with kids. Our kids are very open with us. We take their suggestions and we try to run with them. We have voluntary meetings outside of our professional development where our staff is working together, and it's literally on whatever our big thing is right in the moment, we're addressing it. So it's coming from the kids, it's coming from the staff, it's coming from our data. We're looking at all of that stuff so that we're making actions, kind of on the fly, but it's working.
And I would just say too that we're really trying to be a part of the solution. I liked that you asked, what are the challenges, the daily challenges, but what are the solutions? And we talked a lot about learning gaps, and we're trying to meet the kids where they are. And I know at the high school, and I'm sure at the middle school, we have these support classes in place, and it's not just an additional class. It's support where I can actually get in, and the other teachers that are teaching the support classes, we are getting right in, we're sitting down with the students, we're meeting them where they are, and trying to help them be and feel more successful. Because if they can feel successful, then they're going to want to learn. They're going to want to move to the next thing. And I mentioned that when I was talking about the challenges. I feel like on a daily basis, I'm the, as teachers, we're the motivators. And I want, and all of the teachers that I work with, we want the kids to find that within themselves. So I feel like we're trying to meet the kids where they are, and we're supporting them where they are. So you have people that are trying to be a part of the solution and trying to figure out what that solution is, instead of just wallowing in the problem.
Next question, I think you.
My name's Janice Green. I sit at home. I'm on disability, and I have a bachelor's degree. And I contacted. I am able to substitute, but unfortunately, I am unable to. With the fact that I'm on disability, I'm disabled with the fact that when I contacted, the fact that they were informed me, because I know that, you're talking about the fact of the teachers in need of assistance. That's why I contacted the school system, because I want to assist in any way that I can, because I just sit at home and I just basically do that. So, I want to help in any way that I can. But unfortunately, I am on a disabled income. And they informed me that, unfortunately, in order to assist, it will enable me to put out an income to be a substitute teacher. And I don't have an income to do that. Is there any way that I am able to assist in any way to be able to assist in the education? Because I am able to assist in any way that I'm able to. And that is where that I am able to assist up to May 20th. And I have a voluntary time system that allows me to help in any way that I'm able to. So if you need help, I'm able to help in any way that I'm able to.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that. We absolutely are always looking for extra help and volunteers. At our buildings this year, we've started to open up volunteering opportunities for people in the community, whether that's reading to students, whether that's doing substitute teaching, whatever that is. And so I would encourage you to reach out to our office. You can even stick around afterwards and give us your contact info. We'd love to try and engage any of our community members as much as we can in that. So thank you for that offer. Yes.
Thank you so much for doing this. It was very helpful, and I learned a lot. And it sounds like the staffing shortage is going to get worse. What's the plan?
So I can take that, but before, I don't know if there's anybody that has something they want to add before I go.
Well, I was just going to say that a lot of us up here, you heard, we're from Creek. And in Creek, we have this tremendous ability to grow our own because we have such a great community and great schools, and we're very passionate. And so I've seen a lot of folks come up through the ranks, like at Cyrene, they might hire in as an aide. Amy here started out as an aide at Cyrene, and a volunteer aide, then an aide for years, and then got her teaching degree and started teaching. So a lot of what we're trying to do is encourage and support our support staff folks who are interested in going to school and getting their teaching degrees. We're growing our own in that way. And I know recently Mr. Micah talked about formalizing some of that with opportunities.
Yeah, thank you very much for addressing that. And Mrs. Paul's a great example of somebody who started out volunteering in a classroom, was a paraprofessional, ended up getting her certificate and credentials. So we actually are really excited about this. We've started to say we're going to have to solve this problem. So when you ask what's the plan, that's a very, very good question that everybody across the country in this business is asking, and I think in a lot of sectors of the economy. But I'm going to speak for just a quick second about what we're doing locally and then maybe the bigger picture. So locally, we are formalizing and working with several of our support staff members that are interested in getting their teaching certificates to do a Grow Your Own program. We're actually also working with universities to try and get as many student teachers as we can. We, in the past 3 years, have hired almost every good student teacher we have before they even hit the job market. And so one of the kind of recruiting tools that we've been doing is saying, hey, if we can get somebody paired up with one of our staff members and then we can actually look to bring them on before they hit the job market, we've got a really good advantage of that. We did that with 3 teachers in the past couple years. And so that's another piece. So both growing your own, having that situation. We're continuing to try and offer incentives to make the district financially as viable as possible. We're blessed to be able to have managed our finances well over the past 5 to 6 years. And so that allows for us to have wages that can support competitive wages for staff across the county. We sit pretty well, and so we're competitive. When we go out there to post a job, people look to Creek and say, that's a place I want to be, not just because it's a good environment, but because the pay is appropriate. And so we want to continue, we talk about that all the time, about wanting to make sure that, obviously these people are not here because they're getting paid. They're here to volunteer their time. They care about the community, they care about the kids. But they also have to put food on the table, and they also need to earn a living. And so I think part of this is about making sure that we can support our staff with competitive wages. The Michigan Department of Education has recently announced and unveiled a plan where they're looking at helping with loan forgiveness for educators. They're looking at incentive payments, signing bonuses, bringing people over from other states. And so there's a lot of cogs in the wheel that are kind of at work across the state to try and address this. And so it's going to take a multifaceted approach. One of the things that I think is really important, and we can talk about it in cliche ways, is that as a society, we have to continue to exude a level of respect for our teachers. I think they're maligned oftentimes in public circles. If you go on social media, all you have to do is search teacher, and you'll find people that'll be talking about the one bad example out of 100 teachers, and they're making that the example to every teacher, right? And that's just, unfortunately, some of our best kids are looking at that and they're saying, wait a second, I don't want to put myself through that, right? So it seems like a small thing, but we have to lift up our teachers, our police officers, our firefighters, our public servants that are working in these public sector jobs. They're essential. And so we want to try and continue to make that a priority as well. So it's a great question, and it's something we're all wrestling with, but I'm proud of the work that we've started. We're one of the only schools in the county doing this Prepare Your Own program, and I think we're going to continue to look outside the box for how we bring people in.
Great questions. I'm very happy to hear our community come out and support. My name's Alicia. I am on the school board. So one thing I do want to say, that's a great question. What are we doing? I don't think I'm out of turn to say that our board members are definitely looking at this, but I want to give a huge shout out to our administration because you've put in place a fantastic team. And if the community doesn't know, we're one of the few schools that literally is fully staffed. There's a huge shortage, and it's really hard to put a sub in that classroom, but we have gotten people from the outside because they see what we're doing and they can appreciate that we're supporting our teachers. So I will say that this community does do a pretty good job, but there's always room for improvement. So to your point, Ben, yes, I think we need to support them. So my other job is to listen to our teachers and our representatives. And I just want to ask a question. If you had a blank check, which you don't have because I manage that, but anyway, if you had a blank check and could pick one thing that we are lacking, what would it be? I say that as a community member because I want to know what we need to make our district better, but also as a board member. What don't we have that you would pick?
Somebody's got to take that question. That's a great question. You're given a blank check and you don't have an answer?
I got plenty of answers, but I want to hear what they're
I know
gonna
you
say.
would. Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah, so normally I would have said a new high school building, but we're really, through our renovation, we're kind of answering that call. So that would have been, that's all I can really think of. Amazing. I've never been asked that question. I can spend money, but I don't know how to answer that blank check question.
I think we have a really good start with our bond. We're making a lot of great improvements there, but this district's been around a while, and I think our facilities need to continue to be improved and upgraded and make it a point of pride where when people visit us here, it's every aspect of our buildings and our facilities shine, and then we allow those opportunities for people, whoa, what's going on in Swartz Creek? What's happening here? And it becomes more of a buzz. So I think we need to keep that momentum going and flowing through, and then we'll just, bring people to us.
And just to add, just the constant improvement of our school. So not only that the community and other people that come to our school have pride, but our students have pride. I mean, I know in all schools, that's our number one goal, is that the kids have pride and take care of that. The other thing too, and we have been working on this, since the Oxford incident, but security. And some things, I don't have like specific things, but we, after we went on Christmas break, we got the door jars that help for security, and we were lacking shades in our classroom because of construction and new windows, and so those are in place. So just the constant push to more security, so all staff members feel like we have the materials to protect our students and our staff and everyone that's involved in the schools, and then the community will feel, safer as well. So I wish I could think of one really specific thing, but that was a great question.
If it was a really big check, I'd expand early childhood. And then, as you've heard of all of the struggles that our staff has had, I would put resources in the building. I know that the board has heard me say this before, but I would put a social worker in every building. I'd put a technology person or two in every building. I'd put an academic coach in every building. That's a lot of money.
I just thought of one other thing.
Do you have more money?
I just thought of one other thing. I feel like in the last couple of years, we haven't had a whole lot of money to maybe reward staff members. So maybe a budget for rewards. Like we do a fun thing at the high school where we nominate teachers or staff members for crushing it, and you get a 2-liter of Orange Crush. But it might be really cool to have a gift card, or so that would be fun.
Well, and playing off of that, just money to do things for our kids, for our students. We would love to provide, we do a lot of things out of our own pocket for them, but it would be great to have incentives for our kids and do fun rewards and excursions and trips and things like that, and get back to, making that learning even more fun. So I think that would be fantastic. And obviously, personnel, I would say, what Rod was referring to, just people in buildings make a difference. Then we can spread our kids out. We can offer more services. We can provide for them and improve their education. So, absolutely.
I understand the ESSER money is going to the STEM program in the summer, and you were saying that you were going to get air conditioning too, which is good. I was wondering about the air filtration system. Maybe if you could get something like that going, then maybe this would counteract some of this mask fear-mongering that we're getting from the health department. And just wanted to know what you thought about that.
Yeah, certainly. And so one of the things that are being installed on all of our new air handling units are HEPA filters. And so it allows us to really filter out a lot of the toxins and the bacteria and things like that that might even be in the air. And so as a part of what makes the air handlers so expensive is the fact that you have to bring in a ton of outside air, which is actually a really good thing. You're bringing in a lot of fresh air, and then they're putting them through those high capacity filters. So part of the ESSER money, as well as part of the bond funds, have gone to install some of those higher caliber filters. Those have been installed in the elementaries and at the middle school, and then this summer those will also be at the high school. So that's a great idea and something that we're definitely looking to explore. So thank you. Any other questions?
My name is Michael. My wife, Marie, works at Elms Road. She is, I think her title is behavior coach there. You've talked a lot about, gaps in social learning, kids not knowing how to do things that maybe they should have years ago because of COVID and so on. My question is, how does the school, we've talked also about mental health, how would the school system decide and figure out how to invest in, say, a counselor at every elementary school or an assistant principal or someone like that? Because I know, my wife tells me every single day, our principals are just working all of the time with children because of behavior issues and learning and that kind of thing. But we're also leaning on people like part-timers and our secretaries who have a lot of other things to do to get through those behavior and mental health things. So how would our schools, I know there's a bucket, right? And if you take money to do one thing, it's taking it from something else. But how could we be proactive and decide that at every elementary school we're going to have a full-time counselor or a full-time social worker or a full-time assistant principal or something like that?
I'd like to give kudos to Creek. I would absolutely love if we could make that happen. We're going to work with Alicia on making that actual blank check really come true. But I will tell you, I'm coming from the Grand Blanc schools, and I was born and raised there. And I will tell you, this district, when they see a need, they go after it in any way that they possibly can. And we now have social workers that normally our social workers were only able to deal with our special ed population. We now have general ed social workers in many of our buildings. But I agree with you. If we could find a way to do more, I think that's a great idea. Just like what Mary and these guys said, people that definitely helps out, especially when we're in the situation that we're in now. But that is something that always gets brought up, and we have already done some of those things here in the district, but I would love to see more of that too.
I will say at the elementaries, we've added just this year, based on needs, we've added several positions like Marie and Melissa and different folks across. We have behavior specialists that help principals. We have health and safety liaisons in many of our buildings that have really helped principals with all of the COVID protocols and with arrival dismissal, traffic areas, and just all kinds of safety issues that come up in our buildings. And so our district has invested. Not that I would turn down a full-time social worker. If that were offered, for sure, I would sign up for that. But we have tremendously added this year already to our capacity. And we can always use more. And I've reached out through my newsletters. Volunteers would be amazing, especially with our littles. We just need people to come and give them attention and time and read with them and all of that. So if anyone's hearing this and you're able and willing to give even just a few hours a week or a month, you can sign up in any school building, office, because it is nice to have full-time folks. And we also benefit from lots and lots of great support from our community and our volunteers that come and help us out every day for free. So,
So it is 8 o'clock, and we promise to be prompt and timely. I know many of you have given up some of your time, 9 o'clock, hour late, 9 o'clock. And we will stick around for a few minutes. Some of us, if you have further questions, feel free to always reach out to us. We hope that you found this informative. We'd like to do this again. We hope that maybe this will be an opportunity to start something new where you can hear directly from our staff, ask questions, and just engage in a discussion about what's going on in the schools. So thank you for being here, and I'd like to extend a hand to our students and staff that were here this evening. So, thank you. Good evening.